And as I read this one with Al-Ghazali when we were in Scotland, and we were going through this matter, and it was fascinating because the language they use to define matters, and it would be really fantastic for somebody to commission a full translation of it. But so the matter has been understood. It has been understood. Is it understood? No, it's not. How do we therefore define philosophy is going to alter the way in which we perceive the world? So this book is very important. If we do not understand philosophy, or we praise philosophy, but in most cases, because we don't understand philosophy, we may find ourselves lured into this fashionable way of thinking. This is what Heidegger calls it, a fashionable way of thinking. It's fashionable. We say what is this and what is that, and how is this and what is this, and we define things, and we make statements about the realities of our world quite freely without any understanding of what we are saying. And now this sounds like something strange, or perhaps they think, oh, we lost our mind. Well, maybe. Every time you say Riba is halal, you have lost your mind. You have lost your mind. Okay? So the world is practicing Riba all the time. There is a strong evidence that we have lost our mind. Okay? But that's not what worries me. What worries me is that we cannot think it through. Huh? Because we have come to the position where we may have rationalized these practices. So that will satisfy some father sending his son to work in a bank, who otherwise will go to Juma and this and the other, and probably is concerned with raising enough money to go to Hajj next year. And there is no doubt this man is sincere. And yet, something terrible is happening, that he is now inclined to justify that the riba is what it is. Now, some people will say, yes, it's haram, bad. And in the bad comes all kind of reasons. It's the matter of the government, it's not my issue. Well, Islamically speaking, nothing. That's not the judgment of the government is the judgment of the government. Your judgment is your judgment. So when you have your day of reckoning, nobody's going to say, what did Mahathir do? No, Mahathir will have his own business. You have your own business. And say, no, I couldn't do it because I had to feed my kids. Okay, that's an answer. But that day you will not give it. You can give it today, when there is bails. But with the unveiling, that day you will simply cry. So, but understanding philosophy becomes critical in order for you to start thinking differently. If when you look at the present debate, nobody switches on television and finds debate on whether philosophy is acceptable or not. In fact, this is so accepted that it's taken for granted. That's why it's so dangerous, because we do not stop to think about it. We just simply take it for granted. When people have come and they have decided to Islamize banking, for example, the great majority of people will say, what a great thing has happened here, that we can now have an Islamic riba. No? I mean, let's say, for example, we Islamize prostitution tomorrow, no? And we create Islamic brothels. Quite naturally, the people may pull their hair out of sentimentality only, because I can be using exactly the same methodology we use in order to Islamize riba. Exactly the same. And the methodology is a methodology whereby I can argue the majority of the people in Malaysia have accepted the central bank. But we have agreed to it. Now, we have agreed to it. At the time of Ibn Rushd, if you say something like that, they will cut your head off. Let's put it that way. If you go out into the street and you say something like that, you will be so clearly a kafir that there will be no further question. Either this man, that's it. It's done. He doesn't even need to do any prayers. It's kafir. So out. This is how bad it is. Because it is unthinkable, out of the question, that one man or 20 or all mankind for that matter could determine what the truth is. Not reason or unreason or this or the other. It doesn't matter. The idea that the majority are right is absurd. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if you follow the majority of mankind, you will be led astray. So it's not maybe you get it wrong, maybe you get it right. No, you will go wrong if you follow the majority of mankind. So this is not the business of following the majority of mankind. This is a completely different matter. So this is where there is no limitations. This is taking the philosophy too far. This is putting thinking way above our capabilities. And what Ibn Rushd said is that there are limits. There must be limits. And if you establish the parameters, and the parameters is the revelation, is Islam itself, then underneath that, then you can use this ethic. But only underneath that. So in other words, it doesn't matter how much we think, doesn't matter how much we think through. There is no logical statement, logical reasoning, categorical analysis of whatever the situation may be, that can lead you to the conclusion that Riba is halal, for example. Nothing. But when it does, then you have to say to yourself, this way of thinking is totally wrong. There is no entertaining in answering that statement. There is no validity in countering an argument with another argument when the issue is the revelation itself. Because it's not proven by argument that riba is haram. I can say some things. I could, for example, sit down with some people and tell them you are wrong. Riba is haram because of this and this and this and this and the other. But I will be failing to administer justice to this issue if in the defense of riba, all I appeal to is reason and perhaps new data. It's like saying, like the people who say, we are using the gold dinar because it's saving from inflation. Okay? Now, this will be like saying, we are fasting Ramadan because it's good for your diet. You will slim down. Or that you have to pray because it's very good exercise for your kidneys. And the statement may be true. It may be absolutely right or wrong, it really doesn't matter. But in doing that, I've already failed to state the truth. And the truth of the matter has any relationship to factual realities, however many they can be. Because it doesn't matter how many I compile, there will be still many more. But to the light that comes into the argument, light, the suggestion of which is not a statement. Light and sentences are two different things. I can manufacture a text, I can make a sentence, but the light doesn't come from me. And the allowing of the coming of the light of this statement will be to say riba is haram because Allah says it's haram. Because Allah says in the Quran, حَلَلَهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَمُ الرِّبَى. That is the truth. A capital truth, without any question, without any trail, without any necessity to reason. That is the truth. حَلَلَهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَمُ الرِّبَى. That is the truth. Everything else, in favor or against, that is not this, should not be called the truth. Should be a compilation of facts. And when we refer to this compilation of facts to any particular reality, we should not say it's the truth, the haq, because the haq belongs to Allah. We should say it coincides. It coincides. Yeah, the inflation is so and so. Is it the truth? Yeah, it coincides. It coincides. It's not the same thing as it is the truth. So, although quite naturally, we can be here for 5 hours, and you know, we can bring this matter from the many aspects that this argument brings in terms of the interpretation of man, the reification of man in modern way of thinking, how philosophy then developed into the modern science, etc., etc. All I wanted to bring to you, to your attention, is that this is a very important issue. This is a very important issue. And although Al-Ghazali may have, in fact, be proven right by the fact that look what happened, still, the argument, in my view, belongs to Ibn Rushd. And the argument here is that it's not much to deny this way of thinking, as is much more important to understand its limitations. That if these limitations are understood, then you can play with them. It allows us to organize, to assess matters in a limited manner. But don't get carried away. Just understand its limitations, and then it becomes useful. Abandon its limitations, and then it becomes dangerous. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.